Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm usually the one pushing you guys into the limelight, so I'm not really used to being here myself. But it's an honor to share the stage with so many incredible researchers, many of whom I've worked with, and there are many more familiar faces in the audience. So for those of you I don't know, I hope my talk will briefly illustrate how working with the press office can help your work reach wide audiences way beyond the confines of the research community. So achieving impact is much easier when everyone's talking about your work. So my job as a press officer is to support and facilitate that to happen. The press office is here to guide you in getting the best media engagement possible, acts as a filter and making sure you're kind of getting the most out of a media exposure. So we have a wide network of contacts in the media and have worked on enough stories to know when stories will be covered and also to know how to avoid being tripped up. I'm sure all of you will be familiar with press releases, the reliable workhorse of any press office, but there are plenty of other ways of doing media engagement, some of which I'll hopefully illustrate here. So as the theme of this festival is impact through innovation, I'd like to illustrate how 3 simple things can help you make the most of any media exposure, thinking beyond the confines of a press release. So, first of all, and perhaps most importantly, think about your audience. Who is it that you want to reach? It's fantastic to land an interview on the Today programme on Radio 4, but if you want to reach the widest audience, it's actually probably better to be in the Daily Mail. So the Mail website has 11.5 million readers every single day, compared to the 7 million listeners who tune into the Today programme over the space of a week. If you want to reach young people, we're increasingly working with Radio 1 on original short features and documentaries. They tend to take a personal focus on the experience of mental illness rather than reporting results. Or maybe your research has a global angle, then it's worth looking at international channels like the BBC's World Service. Perhaps you want to reach a certain profession or a certain echelon in society. Well, last year we arranged for an exclusive with the Financial Times, which announced a collaboration between the Neuroimaging Department and the Entrepreneurship Institute here at King's. As a result of that particular bit of coverage, I periodically get messages from entrepreneurs wishing to take part in that research. And of course, not all media opportunities focus on research findings. Many journalists contact us looking for an authoritative voice on a subject that their audience care about. For example, when I got a call from This Morning on ITV wanting to cover anxiety, Professor Talia Ely stepped up and agreed to fill that expert slot. By doing so, and sitting on around the table there with Holly and Phil, Talia not only reached a daytime TV audience, which is different from your kind of evening news or morning news, but also racked up tens of thousands of views on social media quite quickly afterwards. So the second thing to highlight is the importance of availability. Making time for media work, of course, it can be tough with very busy schedules, but becoming known to journalists as a reliable expert just leads to new opportunities. As an example, we recently publicised research on trauma in young people by Professor Andrea Danesi and Dr. Steph Lewis. The story was very widely reported, and that was partly because both Andrea and Steph were willing to take on interviews even at very unfriendly hours, feeding that hungry 24-hour news beast. Since then, I've had numerous follow-up requests, literally including while writing this talk, for Andrea and Steph, and I could say the same thing about so many other stories that I've worked on. And availability is not just about saying yes to interviews. Making resources available to the media can make the difference between a story being covered and not. Ask yourself what you can make available to a journalist. Can you take pictures or video? That can always really help. So for instance, last year we achieved significant coverage of a study by Professor Liz Bradbury about gene therapy for spinal injury. The research team had some great footage of rats which had regained the ability to grasp sugar pellets, which you can see some images of there, and the journalists just loved those. Not only that, but we even invited film crews into the lab, giving them a rare opportunity to film animal research. So lastly, it's hugely important to be aware of current trends in the public conversation. Does your work relate to a current issue? Because if so, you might be exactly who a journalist is looking for. For instance, cannabidiol or CBD has become a huge health fad in the last couple of years, And in general, I probably get more media inquiries about cannabis than any other topic. So we've been able to make the most of it by working on a BBC Horizon episode, which you can see some filming for there, which will be aired quite soon. And other topics which you might not expect us to have pitched into include the death of Stephen Hawking and the Thai cave rescue. So just to finish up, I just want to say the best results come from planning ahead, so please act on acceptance. And if you think you've got the next big splash, come and let me know. Thank you.